though I am gone. It must have been traumatic for you to take pictures of your wife's body. Definitely. But I was determined to record the truth of history. I studied at the Central Party School from 1961 to 1965. After graduation, I went to rural areas to participate in the Four Cleanups movement. My wife was working at the girls' middle school as party secretary and vice principal. In 1966, the Cultural Revolution started. The stance is firm, the direction is clear. Full of youth and vitality, we make revolution. With ardent loyalty, we follow the party. We are Chairman Mao's Red Guards. When the Cultural Revolution started, a staff's wife, Yuan Shu, started to cook up rumors against people she disliked. A vice principal, Li Tianyi, slandered Bian for participating in the February military coup of Beijing Municipal Committee. At the meeting on 22 June, the beating was more violent than ever. Yuan and her family all jumped onto the stage. Yuan seized Bian by her hair and hit her. This is a copy of the official conclusion written by the inspection team. It summarized Bian's life like this. Bian Zhongyun, party secretary and vice principal, female, 48 years old. Joined the party in 1941, started to work in 1944. Born into a big landlord's family, she boasted of joining the revolution with gold jewelers. She was appointed to the post since 1958. A big character poster from that time. Hold up your pig's ears and listen carefully. We'll hack you to pieces if you dare act wildly. Class 3, Grade 4, Girls' Middle School. Where was it posted then? On our front door. How many did they post? On both sides of the front door. Almost on every door inside. Did they break into your apartment? Yes. On June 23, more than 100 students, led by Yuan Shu, forced their way into the house. They surrounded the building, rummaged around, and posted many big character posters. Her bedroom and study. The posters were posted over here. Did you keep them there all the time? Yes. From which angle did you take this photo? From the stairs looking up. They were posted everywhere, inside and outside. I didn't tear them down. What did your children say?
Nothing special.
I was determined to keep them there. They deserved to be seen by others. This is teacher Bian's bedroom? Yes. Looking out of the window from inside. And this is the toilet next to her room. How long were these posters kept for? The posters had been posted when she was still alive. How long did they stay there? About 2 or 3 years. At that time, Chou was usual. How were the houses raided? They'd torture you so you'd say anything. Where did you hide the things? You say, in someone's house. The Red Guards stop a car on the street. Even though there weren't many cars back then, they could just stop one and go to the house of the accused and start the search. It means gangs of rebels rummaging around your home. They even pried the floors and lifted the roof. They threw things out. Smashed everything and burned whatever could be burned. Many scholars lived in this area. So book burning was a usual scene. Photo of a big character posted in Bian's home. You vixen, you ugly female devil. Don't you dream free at home? At school, your arrogance has been swept away. At the struggle meeting, you trembled like a leaf. Legs paralyzed, hands holding a high hat. Poured with cold water, mud in your mouth. Just like a pig in the water. While back home, you become shrewish again. On July 23rd, Jiang Xing and Chen Boda incited beatings at Yan'an Garden in Beijing University. Bad guys beaten by good guys. Deserved. Good guys beaten by good guys. Misunderstood. They didn't say, what if bad guys beaten by bad guys? Anyway, they incited beatings. These are original documents. I have kept them all. On August 4th, 7 top leaders of the school were brought to the office and clubbed. They had been beaten before. But this time, it was much worse. They were beaten with rifles for militia training. They were beaten all by girls? Yes, all by girls. No boys. It was a girls' school. They had another side. Comrade Hu Jie, also a vice principal of the school, had a strong character. This was Hu Jie, who once recorded the chorus of Yellow River. The next morning, she went to many government offices to report the whole thing. But in those days, there was nobody on duty. When I came back home after a meeting, it was already 10 o'clock. Bian showed me the bruises on her back. Several days before, she took a shower at home. She said she would rather clean her body before being beaten to death. I suggested her leaving Beijing, but she said, "I've done nothing wrong." She would rather die than lose her dignity. She knew that she was in danger, but she believed that she was innocent. A picture of a big character poster. "You bitch, behave. Otherwise, we'll teach you how to." I now understand that there was no escape. On August 5th, she got up early, around 6 or 7 o'clock. She came to my bedroom and stood by my bedside. We shook hands. But didn't know that she wouldn't come back. Did you shake hands often? Never before. Did you say anything? No. On August 5th, 1966, Mao Zedong posted, "Bombard the headquarters. My first big character poster." On August 5th, 1966, around 1:30 in the afternoon, the campus parade started. In the shouting, "Down with the black gang," countless fists fell on me before I was pushed to the center of the playground. Goodness, their faces were all in black, only their teeth white. Scribbled with ink? Yes, ink. One could hardly recognize the eyes and the teeth. They screamed. Once their voice was not loud enough, they would immediately be beaten by a club. So they had to scream very loudly. What did they say? They shouted, "I am a capitalist roader. I am a counter-revolutionary revisionist. I deserve the beatings. I am damned to death." I heard them saying it. Something like, "I should have smashed my own damned head." And they had to strike a wash basin or a dustpan each time they shouted. Bian Zhongyun was made to strike an iron dustpan and Hu Jie a wash basin. And they were followed by students, Red Guards. No teacher dared to come out. There were only those girls. I was hiding in the library, peeping through the window. I was shocked by a Red Guard fairly tall. She said, "You will never free yourself from my footstep." And then she did step onto her body. So she fell down and was trampled? Exactly. What kind of shoes did the girls wear? Military boots. Fashion had changed overnight. Suddenly, girls started to wear green military uniforms and boots. And they started to kick others with boots. The girls wore boots for the purpose of trampling people. The girls wore army uniforms and belts. Holding their belts, they'd yell, "Fuck your grandma." I wondered how they could change like this. When the 5 teachers were kneeling down there, I heard someone shouting, "Go and fetch some clubs." Later on that day, there were bloodstains and a bloody handprint on the wall near our dormitory. After the torture there, Bian was dying. The Red Guards had ice cream and left. Then they started to look for me. At first, I didn't know what for. Later, I realized they wanted me to get a broom because I had been assigned to clean toilets. They brought me to the women's toilet near the dormitory. Lin Meng saw Bian supporting her body with one hand against the wall. There were bloodstains on her clothes. Later, I heard that they hit her with nail-spiked clubs. The Red Guards ordered Lin Meng to bring her a broom to clean the toilet. I handed her the broom, but before she could catch it, she slid down the wall and lay on the ground. A girl shouted at her, "You fake death! You did it on the small playground already." The Red Guards poured a basin of water over her. It happened here? Yes, right here. A full basin of water over her. They didn't manage to wake her up. They sent for me again. This time, they asked me to wait outside the dormitory. Bian had been taken out, lying there. Another worker got a hold of a garbage cart. They wanted us to carry Bian onto the cart. I lifted her feet, both of her shoes full of water. She was still alive, her eyes full of whites. There was foam and traces of blood at her mouth, and she was twitching. When I lifted her feet up, the girls all burst into laughter. They were laughing at a living rightist carrying a dying capitalist roader. Work ID card. The Little Red Book. On Self-Cultivation of a Party Member by Liu Shaoqi. Never forget class struggles. Hold high the great red flag of Mao Zedong thought and carry out the great proletarian cultural revolution to the end. Sweep all monsters and ghosts. The soul-stirring revolution. A garbage cart stopped by my side. It was covered with big character posters and a big broom on top of them. I removed the broom and the posters, and I almost cried out. Lao Bian! Her eyes were wide open. Quick, be quick, I cried. Send her to the hospital. But they shouted at me. You black gang. If you don't reform yourself, you'll end up like this. I was pushed into an office and locked inside. The girls' middle school was only 1 block away from the hospital. How did you come to know what happened to Bian? I came back home at 8 or 9 o'clock in the evening. My neighbor upstairs told me there was a telephone call for me. You went to pick up the phone? Yes, I did. It was from a staff in the school who told me that Bian was in the hospital, badly wounded. So I rushed to the hospital with my 3 children, including the youngest one. When I came to the hospital, my father and my brother and sisters were already there. In a small room on the left side of the entrance to the postal hospital, several members of the Revolutionary Committee came. This is the original copy. This is Li Songwen, the only teacher. There was a big hole on the back of Mother's head. And another hole in her right arm. Both still bleeding. Her lower body was covered, but her face was obviously swollen. When Father and I went to another room, we couldn't help crying when we saw excrement on Mother's underpants. Yes, yes. Father lost control when he saw the excrement. He threw himself onto the ground and bit the bamboo sheet till it was torn. Wang Jingyao's tears ran down when he was talking about this. Were you two in the same office? Yes, we were in the same office, and we knew each other well. That's why he told us what had happened. How could the movement develop in this way, making the youngsters so cruel and brutal? How could they beat their teachers to death? It had never happened before. I was unable to go to work, so I wrote to the rebel leader in my work unit, asking for a leave. I wrote, Comrade Deshin, during the Cultural Revolution, I made a serious mistake in my attitude towards the counter-revolutionary Xi Jixian. Now I am determined to make a clear break with him. I'll expose him and make self-criticism to come back to the revolutionary stand. Last night, my wife died. I have to ask for a few days' leave to arrange for her funeral and take a short rest myself. I sincerely wish you would kindly grant my request.
Wang
Jingyao did something really unusual and shocking. He bought a camera the next day and took pictures of her body. Did you know about it? No, he never mentioned it. All I knew was that he was heartbroken. The next day, when the students heard teacher Bian's death, how did they respond? The next morning, students stayed in the classrooms as usual, listening to the loudspeaker set in every classroom. When a red guard announced, Bian Zhongyun died last night. There was a short silence, and someone seemed to make some comment. But the topic changed quickly to something else, as if Bian had been a demon, and her being beaten to death was no big deal. Not even worth discussing. An anonymous letter written August 8, 1966. Who wrote this letter? It is still a mystery. Comrade Lao Wang. Lao Bian has worked for the party in the school for 17 years. We all know secretly she was innocent. She was beaten to death at the very beginning of the Cultural Revolution. Many witnessed that she had been beaten up by nail-spiked clubs and bench legs, and had been forced to kneel down or to carry heavy baskets of earth. When she couldn't move, she would be beaten up on the head and the upper body. She was punished to clean toilets. On the staircase of the dormitory building, she fainted and lost control of excrement and urine. I am an ordinary teacher. I am not willing to sign my name or reveal my handwriting. A teacher from girls' middle school. At 2 p.m. on August 8, 1966. Decision concerning the Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution. Passed on 8 August 1966 by the Central Committee of the CCP. A new stage in socialist revolution. The Great Proletarian Cultural Revolution now unfolding is a great revolution that touches people to their very souls and constitutes a new stage in the development of the socialist revolution in our country, a stage which is both broader and deeper. At the 10th plenary session of the 8th Central Committee of the party, Comrade Mao Zedong said, "To overthrow a political power, it is always necessary, first of all, to create public opinion, to do work in the ideological sphere. This is true for the revolutionary class as well as for the counter-revolutionary class." The thesis of Comrade Mao Zedong has been proved entirely correct in practice. Although the bourgeoisie has been overthrown, it is still trying to use the old ideas, culture, customs, and habits of the exploiting classes to corrupt the masses, capture their minds, and endeavor to stage a comeback. The proletariat must do the exact opposite. It must meet head-on every challenge of the bourgeoisie in the ideological field and use the new ideas, culture, customs, and habits of the proletariat to change the mental outlook of the whole society. At present, our objective is to struggle against and overthrow those persons in authority who are taking the capitalist road, to criticize and repudiate the reactionary bourgeois academic authorities and the ideology of the bourgeoisie and all other exploiting classes. At that time, there was murdering everywhere in Beijing. How did those students guard us? They came with belts to our makeshift prison and made us kowtow to Chairman Mao, morning and night. Then they slapped and whipped us. When Red Guards found a title deed in an old woman's house, they beat her to death. After that, the students were afraid, so they held a meeting. Jiang Qing and Shi Fuxi said, "The old woman hid the deed for a reactionary restoration, hence guilty. The Red Guards were not liable." After they said this, beatings proliferated in Beijing. More people were beaten to death in Beijing than anywhere else. 2 students called me into a small dark room, asked how old I was. I was 44, so they whipped me 44 times. I returned to my middle school, number 35. 15 lives were taken. People outside of the school didn't know. In our old music classroom on the 5th floor, 13 people were beaten to death. When they saw all the corpses inside, 2 others jumped out of the window when the Red Guards weren't watching. If you added up all the numbers, 5 to 10 lives were probably lost in every Beijing middle school. Long live the Red Terror, written with human blood in the prison established by the Red Guards from Beijing No. 6 Middle School. Beijing 6th Middle School had many cadres children. That school had the most number of people beaten to death. Schools of commoners were not as brutal. Shu Petian, staff of the No. 6 Middle School who was beaten to death by the Red Guards. My aunt told me she saw a woman's body thrown into an undertaker's car. Her black nylon-covered legs were still shaking. Interrogation room in Beijing No. 6 Middle School. It started in the West District. A victim was Xia Ping, principal of Beijing No. 3 Girls Middle School. Also beaten to death? Yes, she was also beaten to death. But there were even more barbarous insults, such as being forced to drink dirty water from a spittoon, etc. I couldn't commit suicide, which would make me a traitor of the party and ruin my children's future. If they beat me to death, then the fault lay with them. That's how I thought at the time. Another was Hu Jie, principal of Beijing No. 8 Middle School. She hanged herself on a radiator. Song Bingbing from Girls Middle School attached to Beijing Normal University put a Red Guard armband on Chairman Mao's arm. Mao asked what her name was, and she answered, Song Binbin. Mao then asked, Bin, which means refined and courteous? She answered yes. Then Mao said, be violent. The murder of this sort spread quickly all over the country. Millions of people died this way. It set an example nationwide, encouraging youngsters to beat and to kill. It started from there. Has it been recorded how many people were beaten to death in Beijing in August 1966? Yes, the number was over 1,770. You're speaking of the Red August in 1966? Yes, Red August. A classmate of mine came from a capitalist family. He was taken to the boys' middle school number 8, forced with 6 others to kneel and take beatings all night long. 3 died right there. He lived. They used all kinds of torture methods, including the famous Japanese tiger bench and chili soup. The Red Guards used them all. They went by the theory of dissent. Tan Lifu was the party secretary of the Palace Museum. He came up with this slogan: if the father's a hero, the son is brave. If the father's reactionary, the son's a knave. You have been so intelligent. What did you think of the phenomenon at the time? I was the most stupid. You might not believe this. My tragedy was that I always worked very hard. The girls' middle school used to be the women's normal college. They had collected many of the most precious classics. No one took care of those classics. They were lying about on the ground. Among them were fragile books from the time of Emperor Kangxi. I bound and categorized them and put them into glass bookcases. Now, these books are priceless. But how could I have done this? It seemed that I really needed some thought reform. You might find it difficult to understand how I worshipped the party and thought I had too many bourgeois ideas and had to change. In the great proletarian cultural revolution, the only method is for the masses to liberate themselves, and any method of doing things in their stead must not be used. Trust the masses, rely on them, and respect their initiative. Cast out fear. Don't be afraid of disturbances. Chairman Mao has often told us that revolution cannot be so very refined, so gentle, so temperate, kind, courteous, restrained, and magnanimous. Let the masses educate themselves in this great revolutionary movement. This is a wisp of smoke from the chimney of the crematorium. In the end, her tormented soul turned into a wisp of smoke. I lived with my mother. I told my mother that life had become meaningless. I heard about the way one of my neighbors committed suicide. He bound one of his wrists with his mother's, with an iron wire connected to the circuit, and pulled the switch on. They died together. My mother said, "My son, if you die, I will die with you." I wrote in a big character poster, "I joined the revolution at 14, but now you call me a spy. I will die to show my innocence." I also wrote, "Although Chairman Mao didn't know me, I wish my neighbors could understand me." I bound one of my mother's wrists with mine, with an iron wire, and we both sat on a wooden bed. I connected the iron wire with the bulb and switched on the light. The bulb exploded. But we were still alive. The bulb exploded? Yes. Later, I asked a physics teacher about this. He said it was because none of us touched the floor. Otherwise, we would have been electrified. I remember being very calm before I switched the light on. There was nowhere to place her ash box because she had been condemned as black gang, enemy of the people. So you put it in the bookcase? That's right. When closed, it looked like an ordinary bookcase. When we were alone, we kept it open. Is this the bookcase? Yes, it is. How long did you keep it there? About 3 or 4 years. Right over here? Yes. This is the window of my study and bedroom. Before the Cultural Revolution, when she left home in the morning or came back in the evening, I usually stood here, watching her. I was happy to see her back, and went to work myself after seeing her leaving. After her death, I still looked through it and waited for her. But in vain. My daughters often kneeled on my bed. And looked through the window. We missed her very much and dreamed of seeing her back again. After 40 years, I found the kind-hearted teacher who wrote the anonymous letter. She was already 75. She told me all the details of Bian's death. But she still refused to be filmed and said it was still not the right time. Did many of the students come from families of high officials? That's true. Some were related to members of the standing committee of the party. It was indeed a royal school. My second and third children went to Great Northern Wilderness. They said goodbye to their mother before they left. I was once a radical Democrat, like many others. I risked my life for democracy. Towards the end of the anti-Japanese war, I moved from Chongqing to Yale University in Chengdu. A few of us organized a revolutionary group. Bian Zhongyun was a member. In 1944, I organized a photography exhibition in the American News Agency in Chengdu. An exhibition of anti-fascism and pro-democracy. I took some pictures to celebrate the victory of the anti-fascist war, advocate democracy, and resist the dictatorship of the KMT. The exhibition was unprecedented in Chengdu. This was the emblem of the exhibition. The slogan was quoted from the Atlantic Charter. Freedom from fear. This was Li Shenzi, who took part in the Double 11th movement. He was the head of the delegation of our party in negotiation with the KMT. I went to study journalism in Fudan University. I didn't intend to be a journalist. I wanted to be a professional revolutionary. Then I transferred to Yale University in Chengdu. Yale University was originally located in Beijing, so it inherited the legacy of the May 4th. It was also a missionary university. I was an atheist, but I was still influenced by its religious atmosphere. What kind of atmosphere? Idealism. I started to hang Christian paintings in my home. In particular, the crucifixion. I liked it very much. What did you like about it? The eyes. They expressed the deepest love for mankind. The Last Supper shows the betrayal of human beings. It seems that all these years you've been living in the memory of your wife's death. Yes, it has been my cross. It was very personal to me. It destroyed a life and a family. However, it was not a private case. Christ carried his cross. I have carried mine for 40 years. I have the most intimate responsibility to do this. Even my children might have felt and thought differently. I witnessed what happened. If I do not reveal the truth, then my life would be meaningless. I had to walk outside. This is my second wife. Before we got married, I told her about the tragedy and what I had to do. She agreed to support me. How long have you been together? More than 30 years. She has been very sympathetic. And taken good care of me. She treats my children like her own. You brought a suit against Yanshu after the Cultural Revolution. Yes, but the prosecution was turned down. Why? They admitted that she had been guilty, but said it had passed the prescribed time. You mean Yanshu? Yes, Yanshu. The Supreme People's Procurator admitted that she had been guilty, but exempted her from prosecution. They didn't care about the fact that all public prosecution and court system had broken down in those years. What did the written reply say? Here. Therefore, we maintain the decision by Xicheng District Procuratorate and exempt Yuan Shu from prosecution, 1980. Ruling by law in name, ruling by men in essence. Officials shielding each other need no excuse. You wrote this after receiving the notice? What did you think? I was not convinced at all. Look, a wristwatch. The chain was damaged. Yes, a watch. Her ID card, school badge. Her watch inherited from her stepmother. A badge of battlefield service group. Was this group the earliest of its kind? Yes, it was. And this was her hair. The watch stopped at 3:40. It must have been damaged then? That's right. What's this? Cotton pulled out of her mouth. So you think all these should be reserved in a future Cultural Revolution museum? Of course. These are the wounds on her body. With blood stain in the mouth. Look at this bloody gauze patch. Look. This was the handkerchief we brought to the hospital to wind up her wounds. These clothes were cut apart at the hospital. Mud. She was lying on the ground and poured with water. Her pants with excrement on them. Excrement. She lost control of excrement and urine after being beaten. That's right. Look, her shirt and socks. A silk shirt. Can you recognize these words? I didn't read them at the time. It was all wet. Can you read them now? Not really. This is down, as in down with. Is this the back of the shirt? This is the first time I've touched it. It is still buttoned. It is the back side. Two handkerchiefs in the pocket.
所以当时都没动过，也没动过。
It has been 39 years, and this is the first time you open it? Yes, the first time since then. It was wet the last time when I touched it.
土还在里面。
All muddy. What kind of music did teacher Bian like? Ode to the Yellow River and Defend the Yellow River, as in the chorus of the Yellow River. The other one was On the Taihang Mountain.
太行山的时候，
在太行山上，
在太行山上是正好是年底。
We sang this song when we went to the Taihang mountainous region at the end of 1945.
我们新到的他们这个新。
We were asked to sing a song in the welcome party.
也让我必要我们唱歌，我都不会唱。
I was not a singer, so she sang it.
在太行山。
The red sun shines over the east. Goddess of freedom sings heartily. Look, mountain ranges and valleys. Like walls of iron and steel. On Mount Taihang, flames of the war of resistance. Soar up into the sky. Listen. Mothers are urging their sons to fight the Japs. Wives are sending their husbands to the front. Xinhua News Agency and the Shanbei radio station were both set in Taihang Mountain. What agency did you say? A temporary news agency. And a temporary radio station. Set up in Taihang Mountain. After the 1947 withdrawal from Yan'an. They didn't have a good watch. So they borrowed Bian's watch. They use it for accurate timing. Do you know what my wish is? After I die, I wish to have these words engraved on my ash box. Born with dream and died of dream. The masses of the workers, peasants, soldiers, revolutionary intellectuals, and revolutionary cadres from the main force in this great cultural revolution, large numbers of revolutionary young people, previously unknown, have become courageous and daring pathbreakers. They are vigorous in action and intelligent. Through the media of big character posters and great debates, they argue things out, expose and criticize thoroughly, and launch resolute attacks on the open and hidden representatives of the bourgeoisie. In such a great revolutionary movement, it is hardly avoidable that they should show shortcomings of one kind or another. However, their general revolutionary orientation has been correct from the beginning. This is the main current in the great proletarian cultural revolution. It is the general direction along which this revolution continues to advance. Since the Cultural Revolution is a revolution, it inevitably meets with resistance. This resistance comes chiefly from those in authority who have wormed their way into the party and are taking the capitalist road. It also comes from the force of habits from the old society. At present, this resistance is still fairly strong and stubborn. But after all, the great proletarian cultural revolution is an irresistible general trend. There is abundant evidence that such resistance will quickly break down once the masses have become fully aroused. Because the resistance is fairly strong, there will be reversals, and even repeated reversals in this struggle. There is no harm in this. It tempers the proletariat and other working people, and especially the younger generation, teaches them lessons and gives them experience, and helps them to understand that the revolutionary road zigzags and does not run smoothly. Firmly apply the class line of the party. Who are our enemies? Who are our friends? This is a question of the first importance for the revolution, and it is likewise a question of the first importance for the great cultural revolution. Party leadership should be good at discovering the left and developing and strengthening the ranks of the left. It should firmly rely on the revolutionary left. During the movement, this is the only way to isolate the most reactionary Rightists thoroughly, and win over the middle and unite with the great majority so that by the end of the movement we shall achieve the unity of more than 95% of the cadres. More than 95% of the masses. Concentrate all forces to strike at the handful of ultra-reactionary bourgeois Rightists and counter-revolutionary revisionists, and expose and criticize to the full their crimes against the party, against socialism, and against the Mao Zedong thought, so as to isolate them to the maximum. The main target of the present movement is those within the party who are in authority and taking the capitalist road. Mao Zedong thought. It is the guide to action in the great proletarian cultural revolution. In the great proletarian cultural revolution, it is imperative to hold aloft the great red banner of Mao Zedong thought and put proletarian politics in command. The movement for the creative study and application of Chairman Mao's works should be carried forward among the masses of workers, peasants, and soldiers, the cadres and the intellectuals, and Mao Zedong thought should be taken as the guide to action in the cultural revolution. Party committees at all levels must abide by the directions given by Chairman Mao over the years, namely that they should thoroughly apply the mass line of from the masses to the masses, and that they should be pupils before they become teachers. The 40th anniversary of the Cultural Revolution. No student as perpetrator or witness of Bian Zhongyun's death agreed to be interviewed.
无产阶级文化大革命必将取得伟大的胜利。